Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Fantasy Football University, FFU, coming at you back again in the off season. Free agent madness, ladies and gentlemen, we are so happy to have you guys with us. I'm Mr. Bildakusas. I'm here with Mr. Tom Lang. Mr. Lang, how you doing, sir?
What an interesting couple days. Well, actually, not couple days. Interesting, almost 48 hours we have had with
Day and a
free
half.
agency. Yeah. I mean, we heard about some stuff that was going to happen over the weekend and stuff like that that was really going to come out. But I actually had a couple conversations with people local over here about players where I thought they were going to go, and it's really funny that they actually came to fruition, which I did a little overthink about Isaiah Pacheco, and we'll talk about him where he landed. I completely forgot he was a free agent. I completely forgot. I thought it was going to be the big guy that they signed and with Isaiah Pacheco on the Kansas City Chiefs, but unfortunately that is not the case.
Or fortunately, depending on where what you're coming at it with.
Yeah.
Do
Miss
you think that like we notice this every year, like at this day, like the first day of free agency during the off season, always impresses, always, exceeds expectations. So many guys that we forget who's going to be moving around. But then during the trade deadline, every single year, the amount of hype that goes in versus what happens during the trade deadline completely falls flat. So this is
yeah.
always the 10 times better of a
Well, we'll be talking about your New York Jets in a little bit, but did you see the
horribly.
post? Did you see the post from Brees Hall after basically they signed and they paid for a lot of these other players? Basically, Brees Hall, the Florham Park's training facility, there was holes in the wall.
I did not. I
It's
did not.
hilarious.
Well, the Jets basically signed everybody. Like they're gonna have a good defense. There's no way around it. They're gonna have a very good defense.
Yeah, and a
Uh,
pissed off running back.
yeah, and we'll get to the Jets offense
There is
horribly.
no way. I'm just telling you this right now, and count this here, guys. There's no way you draft Brees Hall this year. First off, second off, the reason why is because he's going to pull Le'Veon Bell. He's not going to play. He's not
I
playing. He will not play on a franchise tag.
Maybe you're right. Maybe he ends up like if he's playing during training camp, then it is what it is.
He will
Um,
not play a regular season game on that contract.
okay, we'll see if that comes to fruition. We'll see. We'll see.
Hmm.
But welcome in everybody, and hopefully you guys could tell from our reaction. So we were just as shocked from a lot of the stuff, like Tommy mentioned. A lot of the stuff we kind of did see coming. So let's not even waste any time. Let's just jump right into this.
And like one of the big things that happened before free agent frenzy was the trade of the century that is going to put the Buffalo Bills over the top.
Yes. See, let's start. Let's just start with that. So DJ Moore to the
Yep.
Buffalo Bills, who I think you, me, everybody that we know thought that that should have happened at the trade deadline last year. Like it made too much sense or whatever, but it didn't, whatever. It happens after the fact. I'm of the opinion, there's a lot of talk online about this, but I'm of the opinion that it's going to turn into something huge. I think it's a gigantically good thing. I think DJ Moore is very, very talented. I don't think they were
Yeah.
getting the most out of him in Chicago. I think it's
No.
very akin to Stephon Diggs showing up there, whatever it was, 5 or 6 years ago. I think it's that level of good. Um, a lot of people online are saying that this is going to be, don't buy into the hype. It's going to be good, but not that good or whatever. I disagree with them. Where do you fall?
I think this is a great move. I think DJ Moore wants to play. He wants to win. He's one of those players. He already got paid, and he's basically the contract is being inherited to the Buffalo Bills. Maybe they pay him for an extension. They usually do stuff like that after the first year. They'll extend him maybe mid-season if he's performing. I know he's going to perform. I mean, this team, he basically last year was his worst season since his rookie year. And basically almost matched his rookie year. We talked about him, that when we basically went over the wide receivers this offseason. But he did score 6 touchdowns last year. He was phenomenal in the playoff. He showed that he could still do it. And I just think that the Bears put a lot of talent around, young talent around, which basically underappreciated a player of his stature. They also paid him what, a year or 2 years prior to on a 4-year contract. So I believe he has 2 more years left on his contract. And he's only 28 years old. He'll be 29 years old this upcoming year. But again, you go from, 2024, 2023, 2020 two and 2021. He had 163 targets in 2021, 118 targets in 2022, 136 targets 2023, 140 targets 2024. They're not being a number one wide receiver prior to this on the Buffalo Bills outside of Khalil Shakir and the tight
We
ends.
we wouldn't call that a number one target.
I
We
wouldn't,
wouldn't,
I wouldn't.
you know.
I'm just saying outside of them, there's going to be a heavy target share going towards DJ Moore. I could see at least 23 to 26% of the targets are going to go to DJ Moore, and they're going to be valuable targets coming from Josh Allen. You still have James Cook in the backfield as well too. So I mean, it's gonna be a very talented offense. I do think they made some moves on defense this just right recently. I do think that they're going to have some good play. They're going to make a really solid push next year.
The
This
move
is, I
make
mean,
the move makes so much sense for them, and
yeah, and then on top of that, and sorry, on top of that, you basically re-sign Connor McGovern, the center, for 4-year deal, and then Dawson Knox is coming back on another 3-year deal. So they got their tight ends locked up. They got Kincaid and also got Dawson Knox. Those are two valued guys. Obviously, not fantasy relevant for Dawson Knox unless Kincaid is out, but I think this is going to be a really, really fun offense to watch. They're always a fun offense to watch, but this is going to be really electric next year.
I agree. I don't see, I mean, you and I had so many qualms about the New England's overperformance last year, especially from like the lack of competition that they played contributing. They were still a good team, but
Yeah.
I think the Bills go back to dominating that division because they're
Yeah.
definitely
And
not
they
going to get any
only,
competition from the other two teams in there.
no, and they only gave up basically a 2026 fifth round and in exchange for a 2026 second round in return. So basically a fifth round pick, and they gave up a second round and they got DJ Moore. So that's that's nice.
I could see also that, I mean, this is basically eliminating so much of the, I'm not going to say hype. We'll call it like, hey, kind of sleeper-esque value of what Khalil Shakir might be, etc. Maybe there's some value for Khalil Shakir on some off weeks here or there. He'll probably end up going undrafted because of this, but I
I
agree
don't
with
think so. I think Khalil Shakir still has the dynamic with Josh Allen. I think he's going to be a low end, maybe a low end wide receiver two, very, very low end wide receiver two, very good flex play. He's always been a solid flex play, even when he hasn't been the primary guy out there. He doesn't need to be the primary guy.
maybe he's better with that, not without being the primary guy, you know.
Correct. So,
Yeah. Yeah, the main point there for everybody to take away, you and I both believe in this DJ Moore trade, and
mhm.
you know, judging by how high he's going to go, we're going to have him ranked very high. We're not going to commit to exactly where yet, but just judging from the sentiment that I saw online, if people are going to be not, overly excited about it, then he's going to be a value for us. So, we're excited about the move. And yeah, we're happy about it. So, like while we're on the subject, I guess we'll go division by division here. So we're already on the Bills situation. Let's jump to the Miami Dolphins here. So the biggest news for the Dolphins that happened today is so Malik Willis is now a Miami Dolphin. He's going to be
Yeah.
the quarterback. So much for Quinn Ewers.
Yeah. 45 million guaranteed as well, too. Three
Yeah,
years, 67. I mean, congratulations. You got a payday off of 4 games he played last year, or 4 games in his career with the Green Bay Packers.
he's had some
So,
other games too that you saw some promise. I mean,
yeah.
far cry from the couple of bad stuff that he had in Tennessee. I think that. Do you think there's too much being made of this eliminates Jalen Waddle as a fantasy option, or maybe he becomes like a very late round sleeper now, or
Um, I I kind of want to stay away. I don't know what's going to happen in that Miami offense. I mean, obviously, I think Devon Achane is probably the only one that you could pretty much touch in that in drafts right now and feel comfortable. But buyers beware with him because this can return back to an injury year if he's the primary all inclusive kind of guy on that offense. Tyreek Hill has been released. I'm a little concerned about Miami's fantasy value next year.
But Malik Willis himself might have some decent enough fantasy value. I mean,
Yeah,
running
I mean,
quarterbacks.
but I mean, he doesn't have any talent around him outside of Devon Achane to basically make him fantasy relevant, unless you're like really looking for a flyer, on those bye weeks or whatever it is. So
And their O
I'd
line
stay
is bad,
away.
so yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Patriots. So the big gigantic news there is so Romeo Dobbs has left the Packers and has now joined the Patriots on a pretty big contract.
Yes, with a plethora of other wide receivers that have value there.
Yeah. So
He
we
took the
got
place of Stephon Diggs.
Boutte. We've got the other guy
Kyle Williams,
Kyle
Matt
Williams.
Collins, Demario Douglas, Bob Douglas. You got Hunter Henry. I mean, come on.
They're turning
There
into
is there
the
is no way that you're going to see a return on value fantasy wise with Romeo Dobbs. His he took the money. They are a good team. I won't put that against them.
they are a good
The
team.
New England Patriots, and they are a structured team. But there is no way you're going to see any type of value like you saw with the Packers on the Patriots with the amount of talent they have at that wide receiver young core right there. And then obviously Hunter Henry is their end zone target, when they're close. So, it's this could be I wouldn't say a Kenny Galladay situation, but you may see the Kenny Galladay value of fantasy numbers. He'll be out there trying, but there's way too many guys out there.
It's very possible that he's still very, going to be, and he is a good wide receiver. It's going to be good or whatever. But the fact of that they have all these guys, and we wouldn't say that Romeo
He,
Dobbs, what's the Josh Jacobs quote? He's not a number one wide receiver along with everybody else that used to be in Green Bay. So,
Yeah, but again, you sign Romeo Dobbs to a big contract, right? But he is no Stephon Diggs outside of his prime like he was last year, playing on baby money right there. So I don't, they're not the same player. It's a loss right there. They paid a guy, but you know what?
I don't know if it's a loss.
We've
He'll have
we've
some
seen
weeks.
we've seen weirder things happen. You never know.
He'll have some weeks. Let's jump to the worst team in the world. So let's talk about the Jets. The big news today, which I was amazed. I was
I
amazed.
think the entire world. I think Woody Johnson was amazing.
Oh my gosh. Don't even get me started on Woody Johnson. We should have a whole controversial topics episode on him. So Geno Smith has been signed from the Raiders
Traded. No, no,
to
traded.
oh,
Traded.
so traded from the Las Vegas Raiders to the New York Jets. So I saw something
The
funny
second
online.
coming.
I saw something funny online about this. Only the New York Jets could have Geno Smith twice at different points in his career and miss out on the good years that he has.
And the most amazing thing out of it is they're inheriting his contract that he got paid a nice payday from the Raiders.
So I don't quite know all the details on that, but yes, it's not
Maybe they
the
restructure it, but
situation.
I mean, it's Geno Smith. Like, was he gonna?
I
Yeah,
know.
I'm gonna restructure my contract to make the team better around me. If you restructure the contract, maybe Brees Hall gets trade. Maybe he gets a contract, but I mean, this is not good for the Jets.
No, I will say that the Jets made an umpteen amount of great moves on defense. Their defense is going to be ferocious next year. So be on the
Imagine,
lookout.
imagine if they had Sauce Gardner and Williams still there, and they didn't make all those trades.
Well, they well that ended up those ended up working out really well for them. Those particular trades,
Yeah, they have
especially
picks, but hopefully do well with those picks.
yeah. So the over under on the Jets games next year is going to be they're all going to be in the 30s, the over unders. So the boy that's probably going to be awful for fantasy next year. Um, Tommy, you mentioned the whole business about Brees Hall, whether he plays or not. So really the question is, so Garrett Wilson, how much of a value is he going to have? We've seen Geno Smith support, you know, uh, Jackson Smith and Jigma. We've seen him support DK Metcalf to some varying degrees of success. And if Garrett Wilson is the only target there, all he has to do is hyper target him. But I got it. That's a lot to say from Geno Smith. So
I mean, Geno Smith only had like a year and a half of success.
he had two years, I
No,
would
he had
say.
a he had a year and a half of success. In 2022 was
Uh,
like his year with Seattle.
yeah. Well, the year
That
that
was his year that he got paid, and then basically,
after Russ got traded out of
yeah,
there. You're right.
yeah, that he was basically finished up at number five quarterback in 2022 with 314.9 points. And after that, he was number 19, number 13, so outside the 12. So I mean, yeah, still good, but not great.
Well, no, not great. And go get Archie Manning next year. Let's move on to the AFC North. So the Ravens. Now, the Ravens situation.
Oh, you don't want to talk about Minka Fitzpatrick going to not the Steelers again for the fourth time, and then you got traded within the division.
What are you talking about? The Minka Fitzpatrick went to the Jets.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
No. I already
No,
said they got a whole bunch
no
of good
fantasy
defensive
value
players.
there. Let's move on.
No, they got a whole bunch of good defensive players. All right, so the Ravens. So the Ravens did not make any consequential moves on offense. However, they have sent away Isaiah Likely, and so we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Hmm.
And considering that they have extended Mark Andrews, I suppose we can just start expecting Mark Andrews to continue to be pretty decent then for the near future. So we'll keep an eye on that in the offseason. But one defensive note, obviously, if everybody was under a rock, Max Crosby has been traded to the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, they had more other problems going on that Ravens defense, so maybe he helps them a little bit. But you know, they
Yeah,
were
the Raiders had a massive issues all over, but he was very, very relevant to that defense too. So I mean, I think that was a really nice move for them, and then they could acquire some opportunity in the draft this year.
yeah. We'll see how they do. Let's talk about the Bengals for 2 seconds. There wasn't any crazy notes on offense. They did make a few defensive things. Not going to be enough to fix their defense, but they did
No,
attempt to do some stuff.
they don't have
So
enough money to pay Hendrickson.
yeah, the Browns, they did a bunch of stuff kind of with their offensive line, which they absolutely needed. And but there's not so much to talk about with the Browns because it's
Because they have no money.
it's everything's about the Shador situation, the Deshaun Watson situation. Like, I don't really know what to make. By the way, do we know that he's going to play next year, Deshaun Watson?
We're not sure.
This is the worst move in
Yeah,
NFL history.
one thing that we have to really keep an eyeball on is Chase Brown though, because they're reportedly talking about an
I,
extension.
I apologize. We missed that with
I
the
think he's
Bengals, right?
a restricted free agent right now. So
Yeah. Apologies. I should have mentioned that. I was encouraged by the fact that it's not like they went out and made another move or whatever. If they don't go into the draft and draft anybody, Chase Brown will be another good thing. Again, the problem is though their O line is awful too.
yeah,
But hopefully he's the pass catching guy, etc. Yeah, another note on the Browns. So seem everybody, by the way, love when there's an injury, everybody's ahead of schedule because that's the latest news on Quinshon Judkins. I don't think he'll be ready by the start of the season, but keep an eye on it. We'll pay attention in the offseason or whatever. How's the recovery on Scatabo going?
let's talk about him when we talk about the
Yeah, well, we'll
G-men.
see. Sorry, I apologize. We'll get to it. All right, let's go to the Steelers. Yay, this is fun. So, couple moves here. So, first and first and foremost, let's talk about the running back position. Kenneth Gainwell has been departed. We'll talk about where he went a little bit later on,
Mhm.
but they have a new acquisition of Rico Suave himself. Rico Dowdle is
I
now.
think this is beautiful for this offense.
I agree, and I think both of these running backs are going to have very good seasons.
Oh
Rico
yeah.
Dowdle and Jalen Warren, who we love. Um, do you think, obviously, who do you think will be drafted higher?
I think Jalen Warren will still be drafted higher, but we already know what Rico Dowd could do in a really bad offense, and I think this offense is going to be pretty good. Adding Michael Pittman, we'll talk about him in a second, to that offense.
Yep.
With DK and then having the plethora of tight ends they have there. I think it's gonna be a really nice thing, and also having a really good defense around that. And I mean, I think it's inevitable. They haven't made any really solid moves, quarterback wise, but Aaron Rodgers is going to come back for one more year. It's happening.
He'll
There's
be
no
back
way
one
it
more.
doesn't. I mean, they're making moves to make that happen. They traded for Michael Pittman. He needed another wide receiver. It's going to happen. So I think when he comes back, you got Fryermuth, you got Darnell Washington. Um,
Janu.
John is right now, he's an unrestricted free agent. He was a 1 year deal. So,
Oh, apologize. Okay.
and so I don't think that maybe they resign him back, but I mean, again, he is an older tight end.
That's
Speaking of
true. And
old
Arthur
tight
Smith
ends.
is not there anymore, his best friend. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think this is a really good move for Rico Dowdle. This offense is gonna be really electric. And I think Pittman is, segueing into him being traded from the Colts, because it was a late round swap, late round pick. And then they basically signed an extension for a 3-year deal, $59 million, with Pittsburgh. So, I mean, I was surprised when I saw Michael Pittman being traded, especially with them saying that Daniel Jones is looking to be on target, to play next year. But we'll talk more about the Colts when we get there.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. The at this point, Rodgers has to come back because he's gonna like the
It's Mike
oppor
McCarthy. How
it's
doesn't he?
well, I don't know how they ended or whatever, but yeah, he's got some options now. I mean,
I think even if they ended bad 10 years ago, I think he'll be okay.
I saw something today that I forget where I saw it that they were like, well, as a backup option, the Steelers might consider making an offer to Kirk Cousins, which might make us rethink how we think about this whole offense. But
One Achilles to the next.
the opportunity is there, and basically because the Bengals have no defense, and we think the Ravens are going to take a step back, the Steelers are primed to go win this division again. So,
Yeah.
good moves there for
Yeah.
them.
I mean, they're the only ones I believe that are making the positive moves to actually be relevant and to win that division. I mean, I would probably put money on them to win the division next year.
I would
I
too.
mean, even right at this point with Mason Rudolph there, because Mason Rudolph is not going to be the guy.
No, he's not. Let's jump to the AFC South. So Texans, the big news there is the Lions have traded David Montgomery to the Houston Texans.
There's even bigger
Um,
news as well.
we have bigger news for the
The bigger
Texans.
news is Joe Mixon has been released.
Oh, all right. Sorry, that was a footnote. So he's their running back situation now. I actually think this doesn't completely eliminate Woody Marks as a prospect. Maybe in draft
Yeah.
season it will, but maybe he can, start making waves towards the end of the season.
I gotta be honest. I think they're gonna just try to do a 1-2 punch with the both of them. I think Woody
Maybe.
Marks proved that he can actually be valuable. Yes, he fumbled the ball in the playoffs, but CJ Stroud had 4 turnovers in one game. In that game that that Woody Marks fumbled the ball. So, I think that they're gonna try to get a little bit more run with two guys. Chubb wasn't doing it. He was not the same guy he was. And on top of that, you got Tank Dell coming back next year. So
That's true. Lest we
the
forget about
forgotten
him.
sauce back there.
Yeah, they did some other work on their offensive line, which was absolutely their weakest thing. So
Hmm.
hopefully they can make some moves. We'll
Yep.
see how we feel about Dave Montgomery next year.
And they made, and and also the Houston Texans made a lot of good defensive moves, and also re-signing and signing some offensive tackles. Dalton
Mhm.
Schultz getting the extension, 1-year extension. So they're retaining their guys. They're making another push next year.
I wonder how we'll feel about Tank Dell fitting in with the whole wide receiver two situation there with Christian Kirk and with the guy we like, Jaden
Jaden
Higgins.
Higgins, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I think Jaden Higgins basically is gonna be a nice value next year, but I think they'll probably throw a 3 wide set like they did when they had which one call it
2 years ago. Yeah,
2 years ago with Mr.
it was still Stroud.
Yeah, I know wide receiver though. Whatever his name is. That was on the Bills, and we just talked about him. He
Diggs.
just got, yeah, Stephon Diggs. Thank you,
Okay.
appreciate that.
All right. All right.
Went
So
too long for that, but
it's
again, I do think that it'll be a nice setup, and Jaden Higgins is a decent size wide receiver as well too. Um, you know, so I think that there is a really good opportunity for him to have a great value. But Nico Collins is the guy back there.
let's jump ahead to the Colts. Big stuff here. So, as we mentioned before, let's not bury the lead. Wide receiver situation. So, as we mentioned before, Michael Pittman has been traded to the Steelers or moved to the Steelers. Let's call it that way. And Alec Pierce has been re-signed for a 4-year mega contract.
Yep.
Now I was following a bunch of the news online about this one. I think this is gigantic. I think Alec Pierce is super talented. I think the situation is great for him. Obviously, with Pittman leaving, on top of the fact that he was already good in a system that they like it, he wanted to stay, et cetera, et cetera. Um, this is another one where the internet is like the general fantasy community is like, don't get too hyped, don't get too hyped. He won't be that. I'm going to absolutely have him ranked in the top, definitely in the top 24. We'll see how high we get him. I like him. I like his talent. I like the prospects. A lot of it, I guess, just depends on Daniel Jones getting healthy to some degree, right? I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean Daniel Jones was signed with a transition tag,
right.
1 year, $37.8 million sign. So I think he comes back and he plays
Yeah,
week
they
one.
want him to be the guy.
I think he'll be there week one. He's a guy that heals up. He wants to play. He will be fine. He's young. I think this team is gonna show nice playing next year, and they've already give Anthony Richardson the opportunity to seek a trade. So I don't think it's gonna happen. There's nobody. I mean, outside maybe the Browns shoot for Anthony Richardson. They have another five quarterbacks back there again.
That quarterback room,
I think this is a
unbelievable.
really good thing for Tyler Warren and a really good thing that Pittman went away for Josh Downs. I think Warren and Downs are going to have. I mean, Warren had a fantastic year last year, um,
Up until
up until Daniel
Jones
Jones
went
getting
down,
injured.
right?
But I think Josh Downs is going to see a lot more opportunity, and he does very well when he's in the slot. And I think maybe they draft a wide receiver, another decent big body wide receiver because Alec Pierce is not huge. Michael Pittman was the guy that was, the big body wide receiver out there. So I think maybe they try to get somebody there. But again, I think this is a good thing for pretty much overall everybody because Daniel Jones does not hyper target guy outside of the tight end.
No, but Alec Pierce makes his targets work. Like he earns his targets and he
He
makes them
does.
work when he gets them. So I'm big on Alec Pierce for next year. Let's talk about the Jaguars. Now it's not like the Jaguars acquired too much. However, let's make the note here. So, that they Travis Etienne has gone on to another team, which we'll talk about later, which basically leaves the running back room open for Bayshaw Tootin to take over as a starting running back here.
Yep.
Talented guy. He's been the darling of he was a rookie last year. He was the darling of a lot of the fantasy community going into draft season. Um, but a lot of people think that they're going to draft a running back of some sort. So if they don't, what? We're all on the Bayshaw Tootin train, or should we just assume that's not going to happen? I
I
mean,
mean, they got Bashal too, and they got LaQuint Allen Jr., and then basically they just re-signed DJ Dallas. So it's not sexy. But Bashal Tootin did show that he could play well, especially inside the 10-yard line as well too, punch some touchdowns in. So I think they have good opportunity out in the wide receiver room. They have great pass catchers. They're losing a really good pass catcher and a running back, and Travis Etienne. Also,
yes.
obviously, with Trevor Lawrence having the chemistry from Clemson there. So um, the
Yeah.
Clemson connection is gone.
I like Bayshaw too, and I think he's talented. If he survives through the NFL draft of not being, they draft some top running back or something, then we'll be all in on it. We like him. Let's talk about the Titans. So the big news here is our favorite wide receiver from last year, Wan'Dale Robinson,
He destroyed his career.
is now, but he did it for the money, has now
Yeah.
moved to Tennessee. Now,
Congratulations.
yeah, I agree with you. I think that's the end of his relevance, basically. I mean,
Yeah.
not only does he is he leaving a situation where I think he was better in, he's now entering a situation in which there's already two pretty good young wide receivers.
And
Alec
Calvin Ridley is still on the team.
and Calvin Ridley's still there. Calvin Ridley, Alec Manor, and Kamara DK. I mean, kind of now it's a bit of a crowded room of guys who are kind of trying to prove themselves on top of the fact of Cam Ward was improving last year. We don't know how much he's improved by. We'll keep an eye on that for next year. Um, but it is what it is. The days of him, like he finished at number 13 last year. That's not going to happen next year. So we'll see how far we'll see where we rank him or whatever. But good for you. He made his money.
Yeah. Congratulations. I mean, he's also in a beautiful city. Nashville's fun.
Yes. One other note here. So Trubisky has left the Bills and is now the backup quarterback for the Titans. I think Trubisky did this very cleverly. If Trubisky wants another shot at starting in the NFL, he's going to go where somebody might fail, and that could happen in Tennessee. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Cam Ward might have turned the page there.
I think Cam Ward's going to turn a page year two. I think, Trubisky He did that also try with Josh Allen's situations up and down early in as well too. So I think he just he's a trend starter. Then he also went obviously to the Steelers. He had opportunity there with with some injury. But I think Cam Ward is going to turn a page here. I just don't think Wan'Dale Robinson has the same value he has anymore.
Let's jump to the AFC West, starting with Denver. No new acquisitions, but a quick note that they have re-signed J.K. Dobbins. So clearly they kind of liked what they had in Harvey, but not enough to make him the guy. And,
No,
Harvey was,
Sean Payton loves J.K.
and he loves J.K. Dobbins. So I'm going to be, J.K. Dobbins was real good for the first half of the year. So probably more of the same for the first half of next year. So now let's talk about the Chiefs, Mr. Lang. So the big news is Super Bowl MVP Ken Glass Walker, has signed a 3-year deal worth up to $45 million with 28.7 million guaranteed with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
And I think it's exactly the thing that they were missing, an explosive guy, power guy, a guy that they could rely on. Can he stay healthy? Is the question.
What no Isaiah Pacheco there anymore, and just a
Right.
Brayshard Smith. I mean, it's not going to be a 1-2 punch element there. They're gonna, especially with Patrick Mahomes, most likely not start in the first, let's just say, 3 games of the season
I
because of
bet
the
you he
injury.
will. I bet you he'll make it back.
But if he
Right.
does, is it old Patrick Mahomes scrambling, things like that? Is he 100%? No, they're gonna. I feel like they're gonna try to lean towards that run and let the MVP of the Super Bowl basically try to lift it up. But we all seen Kenneth Walker when he is the solo propriety of a roster. It does not turn out well. Um, he
Thus
may
far.
earn the nickname of Ken Glass Walker yet again in 2026, 2027.
I saw a funny thing online that they said that the Kansas City Chiefs are currently making a play to try to sign Charbonnet to join the backfield. They're going to need somebody to spell him.
Yeah.
I feel like that's when he is at his best. So good for him. I'm
Yeah.
happy about the situation. I think the
Yeah,
Chiefs needed it.
congratulations. I mean, he got his payday. He got exactly what he was looking for. He, went and I made a joke about this, but it was true. I mean, like, why would you want to play for a team when your GM basically goes up there during the parade and say, that was weird, Kenneth Walker trying to, initiate a contract conversation. No, it's not weird. It's a guy that wants to play for your team and basically win another Super Bowl. Well, guess what? You just lost out.
Yeah. And we'll get to the replacements in Seattle. We'll get to that. The only other note really to mention, and we're not going to waste too much time because Tommy and I could roll our eyes enough. So the Chiefs it seems Kelsey's going to come back for another year, and okay, we'll leave it there because
Yep.
we don't need a whole nother controversial
Yep.
episode on him.
He's ruining Noah Gray's career. Move on.
Let's talk. Let's talk about the Raiders. So,
I was surprised about this Raiders signing.
why?
Jalen Naylor, 3 year, 35.03 million dollars. I mean, like, come on. 23 million guaranteed.
I mean,
He
they like him. I mean,
Yeah, they like him. Like he come on.
he's the perfect guy to fill in to like him and Trey Tucker are these like middling wide receiver twos, and Brock Bowers is
You
the lead
pay a
guy.
guy
I
that
mean,
much money for 53 targets, 29 receptions, 444 yards, and 4 touchdowns, 42 targets, 28 receptions, 414, and 6 touchdowns in back-to-back years. Like, you pay for a guy that much money for something like that?
I don't know, maybe it's partial because the salary cap is blowing up
Or
this
maybe
year,
they're just
maybe.
trying to pay, spend money, but it's not needed.
Maybe. Well, God bless them. Good for them. They'll try to do what they can. They really accomplished nothing else at on offense, which,
Well, I mean,
they should have done offensive line work.
they
Had
did.
they
Tyler Linderbaum, they signed for a 3 year,
Oh, I
$81 million
apologize.
dollar deal.
I missed that. That should
Yep.
help.
That
Right.
was that was a big signing right there. I mean, that's probably
It's what they
the
needed.
offensive line presence that they needed last year for Geno Smith not to get sacked 84 times.
Yeah, it's just a question of do we think that Mendoza is going to support enough for guys like Brock Bowers? I think Gentry's going to be fine. That's about as best as I could say it. Um, but do we think he's going to do enough for Brock Bowers? And it depends on where Brock Bowers is going in a draft. But we already talked about this. We are so at this point anti onesie position. So, you know, definitely
Yeah.
not going to be on. He might not be on a lot of my teams. Let's talk about the Chargers. So the Chargers, no crazy, offensive news to mention other than they're going to have their guys that they have on offensive line get healthier, which they absolutely needed.
Yeah.
Um, so maybe we could start seeing Hampton, explode a little bit next year. I have high hopes for him, and we'll keep an eye on those things. Let's move to the NFC. Unless you had any other notes on the Chargers.
No, I mean, I kind of try to remember. They did lose to retirement a offensive lineman.
Yes.
Um, but I completely lost that
Are you mixing
information.
him up with the guy on the Bears?
No.
The Bears. Now I forget the guy's name, but the center for the Bears retired. He was 27 years old. He was very good. He
Yeah.
was a Pro Bowl center.
Yep.
We'll get to the Bears. All right, so let's jump to the NFC East. Tommy's
A-
favorite division here.
And I told you about the first one we're going to talk about.
All right.
I called it.
All right. Dallas Cowboys running back has been re-signed. Which running back? Oh, Javonte Williams.
Yep.
Okay, so you called this one. You thought it was bound to happen, and it did. So how
And it was
good?
actually, it was worth, if you look at the signings for some of these other guys, obviously, Kenneth Walker got paid MVP, Super Bowl MVP money, right? But I think Javonte Williams was much better than Kenneth Walker all season. I mean, fantasy wise, he was much better.
Well, he wasn't 50-50 it with somebody. I
Well,
mean,
no, but again, I think Javonte Williams is just a stud. He's a bus, and he runs through people up and down the field. And he, can stay healthy. So
I'm going to be honest with you. I think I don't know if we're going to have differing opinions. I think he has a really bad season next year.
I think he has a continuation of a really nice season.
Okay, maybe we'll have a disagreement into
Yep.
that next year. So
He will
George
be our Joe Mixon.
George Pickens has received the franchise tag, so he's going to remain in Dallas unless
He's
some
pissed.
some weird trade or something happens. But that was to be expected. We know Jerry
Yeah.
was going to pull something like that. Do you think George Pickens pulls anything like in terms of holding out or a hold in or whatever they do
There's a
nowadays?
possibility. I mean, he was seeking a long-term deal. But I think him and CD Lamb have a really good connection. As teammates there. I think it's a really good opportunity for Dak Prescott to have another bounce back year, but we know it's the down year for Dak. There's a possibility he gets injured this year based on the trends. So,
Right, we're playing red light, green light with fantasy analysis.
it's
I
red
like
light, green light this year, and it's red light. Um, you never know. I mean, maybe he breaks that trend and has another top 5 year. But he should based on the talent surrounding him. I
sure.
think George Pickens he's going to make another push. His agent will make another push because I'll tell you something right now. If he has the same year he had last year, this year coming up, he will be higher paid than CD Lamb.
Maybe.
He
Well,
has to.
definitely now with salary cap stuff. Yeah.
He has to.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same situation that you have in Cincinnati, and that's not good.
No.
And they got a lot of talent on that defense now. That defense that made some really good acquisitions. Trade. They basically got Rashawn Gary from the Green Bay Packers. So the Packers and the Cowboys are making yet another trade. And then obviously the Cowboys have some really good um I mean actually well they got Williams, Quentin Williams. But they do still have some decent draft picks this year. So
Certainly. And one little funny note before we move on, like I laughed at the whole Brandon Aubrey thing that Brandon Aubrey is that valuable to a team that they've set a second round tender on a kicker, which is unbelievable, but he's worth it,
yeah.
basically. I mean, there's no other way around it. All right, so let's go to your New York Football Giants here. So, I think the big news here is the Isaiah Likely thing.
I was surprised actually.
So was I,
Very surprised. I mean, Theo Johnson has a connection, I think, but this is nice. It's a nice 1-2 punch. They did lose. Um,
Wandale.
Yeah, no, they lost Wandell, but then they also lost the other tight end
Oh, I know
to
who you're talking
yeah,
about. Yeah.
they lost him also to Tennessee.
Yep.
Um, so I mean, having Theo and Isaiah Likely, I think that's gonna be a nice 1-2 punch, especially having, Malik Neighbors coming back from injury. It's gonna be the first time we're gonna see this offense be really, really electric. I think Jackson Dart is gonna have a lot of talent around him. It's gonna be up to him, to really fail. Oh, and here we go. Giants have agreed to six-time Pro Bowler Patrick Richard from the what you call it?
Patrick
The Ravens.
Patrick
Ricard.
Ricard.
Yep.
Really?
Yep, just right now.
Oh, he's a good player.
Yeah. So that's great. I think that's a great blocker for Cam Scadaboo, and
Yeah,
then
he's
obviously
a
that adds a lot of talent.
jacked
Yeah,
fullback. Yeah.
that's amazing. Ah,
Nice.
that's awesome. So, some of the talent from the Ravens are coming over to the Giants, and the Giants
Yeah.
defense is getting a lot better as well too. I mean, they did release one of their players, one of the linebackers, but they did sign Tremaine Edmonds. So I am
Yes.
happy about that.
It's a decent setup there for Jackson Dart now. Decent offensive line, good weapons, and he himself is, he's good and he's a good weapon himself, especially with his legs.
Yep.
So they've
He's just
got,
got to slide.
yeah, if he could keep himself protected and, Scatterbo coming back, I mean, they've got they've got a quite nice little offense there coming along. So, you'll be fairly optimistic for them next year.
Yes, I'll be standing up watching the first game, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Be miserable after that. Let's quickly just mention the Eagles. Really nothing crazy has been happening with the Eagles as of
No.
late. No news yet on AJ Brown signing or not signing. So as of right now, he's still with the Eagles, and we'll see how much he complains his way to get out of there. So simple. It's about all we know.
Yeah,
Let's
just some defensive players.
yeah,
That's about it.
let's talk the Commanders. So, you know, my question to you is if Jaden larger question. Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders had a really good year 2 years ago, right? Part and parcel of, at least in my opinion, that they had a horrifically easy schedule on top of the fact of just like everything coming together, other people, other teams kind of failure, whatever. Very, very reminiscent of the Patriots of this year. So now they had the bad year. Daniels was kind of in and out with injuries or whatever. So now they're rolling it back for this upcoming year. I could see they're having a bounce back. It seems like they kept a lot of things very similar. Mariota's back
Yeah, they just
as the
re-signed
backup
Mariota.
quarterback. They're keeping all the other guys. There's nothing's happening with McLaurin. Nothing's happening with any of their core pieces. The same running backs thus far, although people think they're going to draft one. So it's going to be a
Uh,
lot of more of the same, I think.
yeah, I think a lot of the same. I also think that, so I was watching some videos, and Austin Eckler is very, very ahead of schedule.
Sure.
He's looking really good. I think honestly they try to revisit last year's try. And basically Austin Eckler comes back, Debo's there. I think that this is going to be a really nice opportunity for them to have a bounce back year. Though their offense was the youngest, pretty much the youngest offense, but their defense was the oldest defense in the league. So they do need to get younger at defense. They not many crazy moves on defense. They did sign a couple guys, but nothing significant to really turn around that defense right now.
Okay. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. And maybe we'll get less JCM and more other running backs talk
Yeah,
leading
I'd
it
like to see
into
Austin
the draft.
Eckler have a bounce back year, and because I think even him 80% is better than JCM.
So do I, although we were convinced that was the end of his career after that
Yeah, I
injury. I
mean,
mean,
yeah, but as you start seeing the offseason, you see some of these players basically, training. If you're done, you ain't training that hard. I saw how he was training. He was getting ready to potentially come back. So I think, even if they bring him back on a incentive contract, what's better fantasy wise to have a
oh,
player that's
incentive.
playing on an incentive
I know
contract?
that's your favorite thing, man.
Juwan Jennings.
That's your favorite thing. Let's jump to the NFC North. So the Chicago Bears, a lot of notes here. So, and I think it's much more relevant about guys that have left than have came back. Let's start at the wide receiver room. So As we mentioned, DJ Moore is now at Buffalo, so he's gone. Additionally, Olamide Zaccheaus is now gone. We'll get to where he went later on. They only brought in one wide receiver, Khalif Raymond. He was like the third string guy for Detroit. So I think this leaves a gigantic window of opportunity for really good play from all three of the major pieces there. That's Colson Loveland at tight end, Rome Odunze, and Luther Burden at wide receiver. So we could see a consolidation of targets, hopefully
Yeah.
in Chicago there. Additionally, you know, they did some work going on their defense. But the main note, like we mentioned earlier, so I'm gonna forget the kid's name, but he was a really amazing, he was a really good center, retires at 27. There's a lot of other news there, like some other halfway controversy. We won't discuss it right now, but we will say they have acquired via trade Garrett Bradbury from the Patriots. Probably won't be as good as him, but hopefully good enough to suffice for that offensive line because the Bears had a very good offensive line last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike, here's a question for you, because this one's a big one online. I was of the opinion that Manungai was better than Swift last year. Doesn't seem like they've done any work on the running back slot. I mean, they're still halfway committed to Swift. But how do you see their running backs shaping up next year?
I,
Early thoughts.
I think that they saw what they can get out of my young guy, and I think that, Ben Johnson's going to start. He obviously favored Swift because of the connection they had at one point on that Lions team. But I do think that Swift is going to start slowly declining. Not saying, that it's gonna be a massive noticeable thing, but I think that the thing you want to catch a decline before it actually is a visible thing. And I think that Manungai has proven that he can overtake at least 40% of that role. So I could see not a 50-50, but close to a 50-50, like a 60-40 split. And Manungai can pretty much get those opportunities inside the red zone.
Okay. No, and I like him. He might be a darling of ours late
Yeah, I
rounds.
think he is a very late round target that everybody should roster, because we know
Sure.
Swift's injury routine.
How he avoided most of it last year was pretty interesting to us.
Very interesting.
Let's talk about the Lions, the running back situation. So we mentioned it. David Montgomery has been traded away, only to be replaced, so to speak, by Isaiah Pacheco from the Chiefs. I was so surprised by this.
Yeah, I was really surprised, but I think, Isaiah Pacheco is literally the running back kind of guy, just like Amon-Ra St. Brown is wide receiver. He's got chip on his shoulder, ready to go.
Motor,
Yeah, I mean, Isaiah Pacheco came back with the bad injury that he was recovering pretty much through the season, and it just didn't look good. So I think that he's going to be
right?
rejuvenated this year. It's in a punching, running gun punch first offense. I think Isaiah Pacheco is a better hit
And
the
he doesn't
hole
have to be the
runner.
main guy, right?
No, he doesn't have to be the main guy. I think this is a really good position for Isaiah Pacheco to be coming into. Now I don't think there's going to be early fantasy value, but I think as the season goes on, there could be some spelling opportunities. This offense should basically take an upward turn, better than they did last year, and bring them
I
back
agree.
to the old Detroit Lions like they were in 2024, 2025. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a fantastic fantasy ad next year. I would not be surprised if he's the first or second running back off the board next year.
That's going to be such a conversation.
I know. But I think Isaiah Pacheco has a great value. Um, and I think this is going to go back to what it was with Montgomery and Gibbs that year one.
Maybe, maybe. And I have a feeling he's not going to be drafted like that. He might be drafted as an afterthought. So
Correct.
could be
Well, that's what
value there.
Montgomery was at that point too.
That's right. Um, they did some work on their offensive line, which is good.
Yeah.
Which is amazing to me that they actually managed to get an offensive lineman from Houston, by the way, Scruggs. And the Texans needed all the help they can get, but apparently they let him go.
Yeah. It's just like they let go Laramie Tunsil 2 years
I
ago.
know, ridiculous. Last little note on Detroit. I just thought it was funny. So the Detroit Lions assigned to their backup quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridge over troubled water is still playing football. He's not just in commercials and he's not just hosting, coaching high school football. He's still still in the NFL. So good on him. He'll be on the Lions for next year. Let's
Yep.
uh let's jump to the Packers. Packers, nothing too crazy. But
Just losing players left and right.
losing players, but they are hopefully getting guys back from injury. Guys could be a bit more healthy. Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you. So with Romeo Dobbs, the departure of Romeo Dobbs, do you see any emergence of a number one wide receiver in Green Bay?
No, we talked about. I mean, Christian Watson is pretty much. I still believe he is the only guy that is relevant there.
Not Golden, not Wicks,
Wait,
not Jaden Reed.
the Baltimore Ravens have backed out of our trade agreement with Max Crosby. We will have no further comment at this time. That's from the Raiders.
Wow. We got news in
That's
real
breaking
time.
news. I'm watch. I got NFL Network on as we're. This is pre-recorded.
Right.
I'm watching this, and that literally that statement just came up. That
We
is Ravens have backed out of the trade agreement for Max Crosby.
Well, for everybody who's watching this, we're recording this at about 8 o'clock on Tuesday night. So, yeah, we're paying attention to the tickers as it happens. So there you go, real time, real news.
Wow,
We're keeping you guys updated.
interesting.
All right. So anyway, I'm inclined to agree with you, Tommy. You've got basically three wide receivers there now of relevance. You've got Watson, Golden, and Wicks, and sorry, and four, I should say, and Reed. And it's difficult to see any one of them becoming a tried and true wide receiver one. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. At least it helps a little bit the guys that remain. And I agree. Watson's probably the most valuable as of right
Yeah,
now.
he's probably the only
So
guy that's there. I mean, then Tucker Kraft comes back. Maybe they drafted wide receiver as well too. They do think they're drafting these wide receivers like they never did that with Aaron Rodgers to better help him. So you know, interesting set of format.
very interesting. Let's go to the Vikings. There's really nothing too much to mention about the Vikings. We're waiting on news to come in about it looks like Kyler's going to end up in Minnesota, but hasn't happened yet, so we won't spend
You
too
got
much time on
you
it.
got nine pouting around the locker room right now.
He had to stop with that, man. He made himself such a target with that stupid
Yeah.
crap. It's
On top
unfortunate.
of that, they did release Aaron Jones. So Aaron
Yes,
Jones is a free agent. And so
I doubt he'll
the
sign
only
somewhere.
running back they have there right now is that's out of relevance is Jordan Mason. And so that I would not be surprised if they don't do something to better that offense. Justin Jefferson is going to be like, get me out of here now.
Well, I think they're obligated then to do something, you know, to make him feel better. So that's why it's like Kyler's definitely going to go there. Again, he'll be good enough for what Justin needs. So it hasn't happened yet, but we'll report it when it does.
Mhm.
Keep an eye on the ticker. Let's talk about the NFC South. This is actually, I think this division had the most interesting stuff go on here. Let's start with the Falcons. So, the Falcons, the greatest news of the day. Tua Tagovailoa has signed with the Atlanta Falcons as a quarterback. Now, honestly, when I saw this, man, for half a second, I'm like, is he even going to be the starter? And then I thought, like, yeah, obviously he's going to be the starter. Penix is there, but like, what mishandling of quarterback situation the Falcons have done for the last couple of years. Talk
Uh,
about awful.
And honestly, I mean, Michael Penix was literally the owner's decision to go out there and get him. He wanted that quarterback. I mean, that was the most interesting. I remember we were talking when that happened, and we're like, "What the did happen just right now? You just signed Kirk Cousins, and then you're going to go out there and get Michael Penix from Washington. I mean, a left-handed guy. It also changed the dynamic of how the ball comes out. It's a very very different scheme sometimes when you have a left-handed quarterback to a right-handed quarterback, right? So it's like it's weird.
I think I think I heard that in the media too. I think that part's overplayed. Um,
No, it's the movement. It's things that you prepare for. I mean, Tua is a left-handed quarterback,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I
so
mean, look
maybe
for the
Kirk is Kirk. They're just going to the left.
this is ridiculous. I think Tua. is good for the shorter end target, so it's probably good for Kyle Pitts, who's also been he received the franchise tag, so he'll be there next year. And just look for Drake London's
Yeah,
average
I
depth
mean
of target to fall by
they
like 5 yards,
they sign Jahad Donson to a
and they signed Dotson.
15-year deal. I sorry, 15. It's 2 year, $15 million.
Uh,
While Olamide Zaccheaus
on a
is
historic
back.
deal.
Olamide Zaccheaus is back in Atlanta, and also Austin Hooper signs a 1 year deal.
Yeah, and the Hooper news is irrelevant. It's just a question of the Tua thing, like how it makes you feel about all the options there. And uh, let's quickly just mention on the Bijan thing. Bijan's running mate there, Algier, is no longer in Atlanta,
Yep.
so we'll talk about that in just a moment. But Algier not being there, obviously, it gives Bijan a little bit more work. They're probably going to spell him a little bit with whomever else is going to be there, but he's still the guy, he's still unbelievable. And I guess it doesn't really matter how bad or mediocre, let's say, the team is going to be. So, I mean, that's why we said Bijan's going to be one or two, depending on, what your opinion is going into the draft season.
Yep.
I'm just, I'm just worried about Drake London. I don't know if Tua can support him to a top 12 level next year. We'll have to see how we feel about that.
I mean, if he could get 15 targets, he could get 15 targets.
Yep. If he can get them there.
Remember, Tyreek Hill said that Tua is the most accurate passer he's ever played with. That guy's a liar.
He is, and he was just being, but that's the thing. That's an okay player speak. That's fine. We know what he's getting at. That's fine. Let's talk
That
about
means you're terrible.
let's talk let's talk about the Panthers. So, the Panthers are another team where it's probably more a case of what the things that they have lost. So Rico Suave leaving basically leaves Chuba Hubbard as the main guy again, right? Unless Brooks comes back from his 10,000th injury and, becomes what he
I
was
mean,
supposed to be, or
Jonathan Brooks is 22 years old. He's gonna be 23 years old this upcoming year. I mean, he hasn't really played any a down of football really his entire NFL career. So this could be a good sign if they didn't make a push to sign him. They still have Jonathan Brooks on that. They also got Trevor Etienne back there as well too. Trevor Etienne played for Georgia, so he is a decent running back. So they still have some talent back there. Chuba Hubbard owns that backfield.
yep.
And they did Jalen Coker dirty, very very dirty, so dirty that he's playing on the league minimum. Somehow they did like what was it, a transition tag for him basically to play on the league minimum. How do you do that to a guy that's produced for you?
Produced. Hey, it's I agree. Maybe they're doing him dirty, but I don't know where it should have ended up. Maybe they had a disagreement about something. Yeah.
I mean, he has the same stats as Jalen Naylor,
The the nailer thing. I knew like
minus the touchdowns, the same stats.
let's jump to the Saints. The Saints towards the end of last year were my absolute favorite team. Tyler Shook was my favorite fantasy player from last year, and they made some moves. They absolutely made some moves here. So top on the list is we talked about it with Jacksonville. Travis Etienne is left Jacksonville and he is now with the New Orleans Saints. Um,
Big contract too.
yeah, so it's not like they went out and declared that Alvin Kamara is not going to return next year. So should we
No,
assume
but I
that
think
or
I think it's sayonara. I think it's over. I mean, he made it very clear he doesn't want to be traded. I just think he's going to be sipping his margaritas, like he said.
well, then if he's going to play, then is it not a thorn in ETN's side, or is it just, hey, he's this old
No, I don't
veteran
think he
guy or
plays.
whatever?
I think he's
You
done.
just you just think he's done.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think he'll retire.
I don't know
I
what
think
they're
it'll be
waiting
over.
on then. Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's they have nothing to wait for. I mean, maybe they have the insight that he's just not going to play, but they're waiting on him to make that, to come out in the media and say, I'm retiring, I'm moving on from the game. It is tough. You know how it is. It is tough when you want to, you feel like it's over, but you really still want to play.
yeah.
Um, and he could be that, but also he's probably throwing in the back of his mind how many injuries he come across and all those big hits and you know that margarita he wants to enjoy. He's probably sipping on a couple in Mexico right now. So
It's unfortunate. They had, at least in my memory of it, the Saints had a couple years where they were very close to getting that second title a couple right off the and he missed out on all of them. For example, that the bad NFC Championship game where the Rams interfered with the Rams got interfered with on the pass, but they never called it. That was
Mhm.
the whole. Then we had we could call a flag on a pass interference call. There was that one. They had the Stephon Diggs miracle in Minnesota play. They had that one, and then the worst game I've ever seen in my life. Drew Brees cracks his ribs, and then they lose to Tom Brady and the stupid Buccaneers in New Orleans because of the fumble from Cook, the
Tell me how
tight
you
end.
really
It turned
feel.
in, yeah. No, they had no business winning that Super Bowl that year. Anyway, uh, so I feel bad for Kamara, but yeah, maybe that's the end of the situation. The other guy who I don't want to bury, I don't want to skip over it. So you
Oh,
mentioned
oh, oh.
they signed Santa Claus, your favorite fantasy player.
I mean, you got Juwan Jennings, 29. The guy looks like he's 39, but
Jawan, not Jennings,
no,
Jawan
sorry, Johnson,
Johnson.
Juwan
Yeah,
Johnson. I mean, they are a year apart, Juwan Johnson and Noah Fant.
I think Johnson's still the guy. I think this
Yeah,
is
Juwan
mostly
Johnson's
irrelevant.
still the guy, but I think, it is smart for especially they had wasn't Meyer back there last year, but
No, they
I
didn't.
think no, I mean the other guy that you so love back there.
Taysom Hill.
Well, Taysom Hill's done. But anyway, back to it because I'm
Yeah.
not going to spend too much time on tight end too. Tyler Show, I think, is going to need a support of two tight ends out there. So a seven set down. I think that's going to be a nice and that'll be a nice kind of play for Juwan Johnson and also Noah Fant to be out there. You got Chris Olave on the out, so
Yeah, this is good for Tyler Shook. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's going to be a really nice move for them.
Yeah. Let's jump to the Buccaneers. Really interesting news we found out today. So running back Kenneth Gainwell is signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which is unbelievable. Now we'll they had a departure of Rashad White. He ended up at another team, which we'll get to in a moment. So I think this is good news for Ken Gainwell and bad news for Bucky Irving. Gainwell is super talented. We saw it this year. He was the leading receiver for Pittsburgh. And Gainwell, like the situation here is that if I'm the offensive coordinator, how do you not incorporate that? That's going to end up being a 50-50 situation. So I don't know how high Bucky Irving is going to be ranked. We'll have to keep that in mind for next year. So there we go. Gainwell to the Buccaneers.
Yep.
So and then hopefully Baker can recover from whatever horrible injury he had for the second half of last year. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's jump to the NFC West. The Cardinals. A lot of crazy stuff happening with them. First and foremost, so Gardner Minshew has signed with the Arizona Cardinals, which I was excited about, not for that reason, but it's basically telling us that Jacoby Brissett is going to return as the starting quarterback for
Yeah,
next
and
year.
now you got two gunslingers as quarterback
Yeah.
back there. So two guys that could throw the ball 500 yards a game.
So do you think that like we were talking about this a little bit, but do you think that Michael Wilson is underdrafted for next year?
No, I mean,
Because I think he will be.
Kendrick Bourne is signed over the Bourne legacy.
The born supremacy, right? But like I'm just mentioning it because I'm excited about the Cardinals receiving options because of this. We're going to see more of the same. LaFleur's the coach, right? We're just going to see an offensive
Yeah, you have to. I mean, yeah, Marvin Harrison,
has to do
he
something,
has to
right?
do something. I think he should be overdrafted Michael Wilson. He should be drafted over Michael Wilson. Um, I
I
think this
guess
offense can support multiple wide receivers on top of Trey McBride. So especially their running back room is looking pretty
different.
decent. If
It's
it's
different
different,
now.
Tyler
Yeah, why don't you break
Algier.
break that news? Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, Tyler Algier signs a 2-year deal with the Arizona Cardinals. He's right now on the depth chart as running back one. I don't know if that stays there. I mean, I think there's gonna be a 1A, 1B.
With who?
James Conner is still on the team. All right, so he's still on the team. They did some restructuring with his contract to keep him there this year. So I think he's going to play next year. And then you got Trey Benson coming back. Bam Knight showed some promise. I mean, they were the unofficial. We hate talking about the Arizona Cardinals running back room all season last year, but I think we saw what Tyler Algier could bring to the table. He's kind of the same player, I believe, as James Conner. They run the same way. They're bruisers.
Right.
Um,
Bash you in the face, get the yards.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So they're yard guy, they're yard getters. Here's Garofalo on the phone right now. Something's coming in. I'll let you know. But the thing is,
Garoppolo.
I think that this could be a really good offense, especially with the coaching they have there. Their defense showed some promise. Adding also Kendrick Bourne just adds more talent to that wide receiver room. Their offensive line, there's been some changes as well there too. Some updates in their offensive line, so they signed a couple, key opportunities there. So they're making some good moves. To be relevant in a really tough division next year.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. Like, I would think that, hey, these are all good things. We'll see some good stuff from them. Kyler's gone, so that drama's out the window. But they're in basically the toughest division in football, you know. So it's unfortunate for them. But I like the idea that they're going to be, slinging it around. We like Jacoby Brissett, so
Yeah.
this is all good for them. I'm glad you brought up the running back situation because this basically deletes Trey Benson from the planet if it's going to be Connor and Algier, right?
I
So
think Benson has some relevance there. I think, it might be a 33, 33, 33.
yeah, that would be awful, right?
Yeah.
Trying to sift through that.
Yeah. Well, welcome back to 2026, 2027, talking
Oh,
about the Arizona
the
Cardinals
card.
backfield.
Yeah, but somehow it seems better than trying to figure out, Michael Carter and DeMercado and stuff. So let's talk about the Rams. The Rams have not gone crazy to acquire any crazy skill players. They have re-signed Tyler Higbee, which was
Why?
amazing to me because it's like you drafted Ferguson with the idea of him being the guy,
And having Kobe
and
Parkinson there
Colby
as well, too.
Parkinson's there, right?
And they re-signed him for a 2-year deal, $8 million.
Well, good for them. The
They're spending a lot of money on defense, though.
Yeah, that was the main thing. So Trent McDuffie was the big sign this year. I think it was to the biggest corner contract ever, if I'm not mistaken. Please check that if I'm misspeaking.
It did break records, yeah.
I think the issue is that they think that they're there, and what they lacked was their kind of defense kind of broke down a little bit towards the latter half of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, they let up 40 something points to Carolina, they let up 30 something to Seattle in the NFC Championship game. So I
I
think
mean,
that's where
yeah,
their mind was.
they trade for him, but then they get another cornerback, Jalen Watson. They signed him on a 3-year, $51 million deal, 31 million guaranteed, and then Cameron Curl re-signing $36 million 3-year, 39 million. So basically, almost the same contract in a sense, but they when it comes down to those lower guys, but they spend a lot of money on the corners, pass defense game. So
To me, this reeks of they're winding it back one more time. They're going to do exactly what they did last year. One more time, Matt Stafford. I bet you this will be his last year, and that's it. Like
well, it has to be, yeah.
and Devontae Adams might be his last one of his last years. We'll
If
see.
he plays another year, I'm gonna call Matthew Stafford a clone. They had to clone him somehow because his spine should not support these kind of hits.
Yeah, he's broken every L across the spine, every herniated disc.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the 49ers. I was excited to get to this one. So, big news here. Mike Evans has signed a 3-year deal, amazingly, with the 49ers. Um, so you remember that old meme with the 49ers, with their first pick in the draft have selected from St. John's Hopkins, Dr. Andrew Patel, the doctor.
How do
Mike
you
Evans is made
sign?
for the 49ers. He's never
Yeah,
going to play. He's injured.
yeah, yeah. This is the Kenny Galladay deal right here.
Oh,
32 years old, signing a 3-year, so he's going to play till 35. Mike Evans has been injured so many times in his career. When was the last time he played a full season? Like last year, he only played
right.
8 games.
It's
The year,
gotten worse the last couple of years
yeah,
too.
the
Yeah.
year before that, 14 games. He had 17 games 2023. He had 15 games 2022, 16 games, 16 games, 13 games, 16 games. He hasn't played a full season.
I know. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Now look, why don't you we were texting about this whole situation. Why don't you share that? You think this is a vote of non-confidence in Kittle, right? That's your
Yeah, I think
main
this is a
thought
voting
here.
a voting confidence in Kittle because I mean, if you look at it, I mean, Pearsall, I mean, they need to find a trade partner for Ayuk. They gotta because that's a big contract that they paid there as well too. Um, but I just think that this is something that they're just saying, Kittle may not be back early in the season. Mike Evans is going to be a nice threat for us to have deep wise outside threat. Brock Purdy, Ricky Pearsall is going to have to rejuvenate himself in the inside. Obviously, you got Christian McCaffrey, the leading wide receiver and the leading running back of that offense and that NFC West. They have still a lot of talent there. Adding Mike Evans is great, but he's 34 years old. He's only going to slow down. He's 32 years old. He's going to be 33 years old in the season. So basically, he's going to finish a career as a 36-year-old wide receiver on the San Francisco 49ers, the most injured
He's never
team
going to
in the
last that
NFL.
long.
There's no way he finishes a full season. I don't even say he plays a whole half of the season. He might get injured in preseason this year.
He might. How do you think? I think he's going to be fairly highly drafted. It's going to make Pearsall like an afterthought. We'll see what happens with Jennings, but I think therefore guys like Pearsall or maybe Jennings could be second half of the year darlings because you have to assume Evans is going to get injured, you know.
I am higher on Pearsall this year than I was last year. He's going to
And
be
you were really
a
high on him last year.
Yeah, and he's going to be a massive afterthought this year. He's going to come into the year healthy. I think he's going to have a better bounce back year. He had a lot of injuries last year.
Yeah.
You can't really mess around with the injuries. You can't flaw that as he had a nice startup. And I think that he's going to see great opportunity through the season. I mean, we saw what happened in some of these other teams, like, let's just look at Tampa Bay, last year. Baker didn't have a great year, but he did support Ibuka
Yes.
very well through the year. I mean, Godwin, obviously, when he came back, he took over. There's a lot of talent around that. You don't have a massive amount of talent here, and Ricky Pearsall is a great talent. So I think this is a positive for Mike Evans. It's going to take away the coverage and draw a lot more opportunity to Pearsall to actually take over.
Yeah, real quick, we didn't make a comment on that. So with Evans' departure in Tampa Bay, to some degree, there's a consolidation of targets there. Ibuka, Godwin, and maybe Jalen McMillian starts making a reappearance there in Tampa Bay. I know you're big, big, big on Godwin. I wonder if, well, I mean, we'll see how the drafting goes, but there's some opportunity there for those guys.
Yep.
So yeah, we didn't make a mention of that. Um, let's jump to the Seahawks. One quick note. I think I kind of said it as I was kind of teasing it and I was kind of reporting it as fact. So I was alluding to Rashad White having been traded or given to the Seahawks.
Not yet.
That has not happened yet.
He's
Uh,
about he's a potential afterthought if they don't get anything. That's
gotcha.
what he
Well,
is.
it's hard to imagine Rashad White staying with the Buccaneers. So everything we were kind of
Yeah.
mentioning with Kenneth Gainwell still applies. So let's just say functionally, we won't comment too much more on that. But the running back situation in Seattle is drastically different because Kenneth Walker, Super Bowl MVP, has now
Zach
gone to the Chiefs,
Charbonnet.
and
Drinking a
Charbonnet is,
Charbonnet now.
but I know, but Charbonnet is got to return from that injury, and we got to keep be
Yeah, you're
paying
good. You
attention
got
to that
George
in the
Holani.
offseason.
They're good.
Right, they got Holani. So there's a gigantic hole, Lonnie, in the backfield there for them to fill. Ha ha ha. Puns aside, they're going to have to do something at running back. So whether they draft somebody or whether they make some kind of a play that's yet to happen, I guess
Yeah,
we'll pay
and on
attention
top of
to.
that, they spent $51 million on Rashid Shaheed, who was
Yeah.
basically a return guy.
Well, is he? I
He
mean,
shouldn't be, but that's what he was last year.
yeah, you're such a Shaheed guy too. Like you're like you believed in him when he was in New Orleans too. So maybe Cooper Cup. I don't know if he retires or something. Maybe he just
But
gets
it wasn't
usurped in
really
some
Cooper
way.
Cup or Torrey Horton that was taking away his opportunity. I mean, he just
He
never fit
just
into
wasn't
he just
right.
didn't fit into the offense when they traded for him. Maybe an offseason changes that. I mean, I hope after paying $51 million in 3 years for a guy.
He better
But
return more touchdowns than,
yeah,
I mean, honestly, though, you could make the argument that their acquisition of him paid off in that one playoff game against San Francisco. He
No,
put
for
them away
sure.
from the
Yeah, right
first
from the
go.
beginning, that's what changed everything. But I mean, again, if you look at the number that was paid for him right there, and then
Right.
you look at the number that they could have paid for Kenneth Walker, I mean, that's also a slap in the face right there. Yes, is Shaheed a multi-threat, multi-positional threat? 100%. But a guy that basically proved and was drafted by your team, and they basically paid a guy that they traded for halfway through the season, and they let a guy go that helped them win a Super Bowl. So
Yeah, you're right.
just my thought. And now they don't have a running back.
No, we'll keep an eye on that. We'll see. They're going to do something, so we'll pay an attention on that.
I will say this: they are going to not. I would take the under on their over/under wins next year.
You think? Yeah,
Yes,
they're going to have a first place
they're
schedule,
gonna they're
etc.
gonna basically. I think they'll be 9.5. I think they'll be nine and
Ooh,
a half next year. I'll take the under on that.
you take the under.
Yeah.
Okay. So there we go. That's all of the moves that we know about. I wanted to mention I was surprised that I didn't see any moves from Brian Thomas. I didn't see anything there. We thought we would have might have seen something with him. And we still don't have any declarative information about Tyreek Hill, although most people think Tyreek Hill is going to end up back with the Chiefs. Has not happened yet. So we'll keep an eye on that. Any other players you're surprised didn't get moved?
I don't think honestly after the Chiefs paid for Kenneth Walker, I don't know if they have the money to pay for Tyreek Hill anymore.
He would be taking like a hometown discount thing,
I don't. I understand that's what we say, but I don't think he wants that. He wants to get paid as well too. I mean,
I suppose.
this will be his last contract most likely in the NFL.
If it even happens. Yeah.
Yeah, if it happens. I mean, he also is again, we don't talk about legal stuff, but he's going through some fun stuff right now, so we'll see. Um Yeah, I mean, I think the keynote of today was the not we're not going to talk about Geno Smith. We're going to talk about the keynote of today was the change of we're going to pull out of that trade. Max Crosby is no longer a Baltimore Raven. Very
Unbelievable.
interesting.
Unbelievable.
But
There's a lot of jokes we could make about it, a lot of double entendres, but we will rise above such skullduggery there.
yeah.
So there we go. Thank you guys very much for sticking with us. Closing thoughts, Mr. Lang?
Yeah, we truly appreciate everybody that takes the time to watch our video. If you could please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys.